Welcome to the latest This Week's Acca podcast, sponsored by Sky Bet Acca Freeze. Tom, Jake and Jimmy with you to run through the schedule. Coming up on this episode then, we are taking a look at the final day of the League 2 season. Playoffs and relegation still to be decided. Debating whether or not it's a good thing that certain games have nothing riding on them, while also building our fivefold above that magical 10-1 marker. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure that you don't ever miss an episode. And remember to keep it fun. Never bet more than you can afford. This podcast is 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly. As ever, let's start by looking back on last week. We gambled on the both teams to score. We gambled on Steve Evans' heroic homecoming to Rotherham. Jimmy's back on the podcast, and what a couple of weeks. You chose not to be here, having had the Steve Evans drama, his return, and the whole discussion that we had on it last week. We gambled on that game against Birmingham, seen a bit of goals, seen, his motivated team back at it. It was 0-0. Killed the Acca. All the others won, so we came close.
Yeah, Sean Scott Dennis knew it. He knew it.
He knew it.
He knew it in the comments. I support the Acca. I suppose this Acca may fail as they haven't taken into account neither Rotherham or Birmingham can hit a barn door from 6 yards.
Well, what about 18 yards?
I mean, he's not wrong.
Well, as it proved, it was correct. 0-0 draw. Completely killed the momentum. Context of the season then, we are at split point championships at the penultimate weekend. League 1 is at the final weekend. League 2 is at its final weekend. League 1 kicks off at 12:30. For this Acca, I think we've agreed we're going to stay to 3 o'clock because then we have the Premier League, we have the Championship, we have League 2 as well, which is also on its final day, as I said there, but that's the 3 p.m.ers. Does anyone want to mention anything in League 1, by the way? Is there anything that jumped out immediately and you went, I have to say this now in case someone wants, a bit of a go on an early kickoff, because usually it's 1 or 2 games. This time we've got 13 if you had the Premier League's early kickoff in, whatever the hell that is, if there is one.
What the hell is even?
It's West Ham Liverpool, but again, after the Merseyside derby, that game doesn't really have much standing. So, if you're looking at to build like an Acca, I mean, it's a struggle. Some of the prices available. I like Lincoln's price to win at home to Portsmouth. They're about 23-20. Portsmouth are probably still on the booze after winning the title.
On the booze.
Lost last week at home to Wigan. And Lincoln and winning in for the playoffs. That would be the only one I would potentially look at, 23-20. But
yeah,
you've got a different approach, haven't you? But
it's important to remember that there is still football going on in League 1. It just kicks off at a time that we can't touch, doesn't it? So it's just interesting. I've gone a completely different approach. Alfie May is chasing down the golden boot. He leads the way by 2 goals. Who's he play for? Charlton to Wickham. Neither side got anything to play for, excuse me. Might score 1, might score 2, might score 3. Hopefully the latter. About 66-1, why not? Who says not? Do you say no?
Why not? Who are they playing? Sorry, Charlton are playing
Wanderers.
Okay, could be a bit chaotic. Who knows? Anyone else? Any other players? Do you want to mention? Or will that become when we talk about the games? Is there?
Oh yeah, we'll save it for a little bit. All I'm going to say is generational wealth.
You need to get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, when we do merch and make record low sales and it upsets us all, we will have a generational wealth t-shirt for you there.
It's a real quiz.
Results or goals? That's the next question. Because beforehand we were talking and the results. So I've got a few.
A few?
Well, you were saying I've got a few. Right. I've got about 8. But to be fair, a lot of my theory is I'm just going for teams that need to win, and just going. Hopefully they all win. Hey, it's all okay.
Yeah.
But last week we went for both teams to score. We gambled on the Rotherham game, which obviously didn't come off as we wanted it to, but still pretty decent route.
Good effort, yeah.
Last games of the season. Are we siding with goals? Would we prefer? How do we want to approach this week's?
I mean, personally, when you get to this stage of the season, like you said, there are some games where teams need to win.
What are you inspecting your water for?
I was just cheersing to the camera.
All right,
fair enough. Carry on.
There are games with stuff riding on it where you, like you said, you probably would look at the team to win, but that narrows your pool of potential picks quite a lot. Whereas some of these dead rubber nothing games just turn into pure chaos. It's just like a football festival. Like the stadiums are full. It's the last game
to
of
that
the
festival.
Season. Yeah, me too. Last game of the season. Just want to basically send the fans home happy that they've seen a good game of football. So I personally would prefer to go for the goals route and just cheer on pure chaos.
Yeah, it's just reminding me. TalkSport, avid listener, great station by the way.
Fade away.
In the adverts, you get bombarded by the gambling adverts are unbelievable. Usually I switch to my best of country album CD, but sometimes you just get sucked into one. It's just reminded me, there's a Ladbrokes one, and it's a Vox Pop where they're just interviewing the public, and he says like, oh, what's your favourite thing to bet on? And the guy's like, I like to bet on both teams to score because it's never dead. There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
We called it both teams to concede.
Yeah.
If that's your route to think about.
Really?
A fancy team score. Do you think they'll concede though?
Shit, yeah.
That's the way
I
you
never
could also
thought
think
about it
about
like
it.
that.
Goals then.
Goals.
Settling on goals.
On that, it's just reminded me, there's a comment from Ray Stevenson. Boys, I have a problem trying to decide to back both teams to score over 2.5 goals. How do you boys choose? I don't have a method. I always seem to prefer over 2.5. I don't know about you two. Just because it's usually a bigger price, and it's not logical, but I just think sometimes in the games you're just as likely to have one team cover the line as you are both, but it doesn't really make any sense.
For me it's I don't, again, like anything I bet on, I don't really have any logic to it. But it feels like both teams score needs more of a competitive game, whereas over 2.5 can just be like a team could go 4-0 up and everyone just goes, we've lost this, let's just pass around for a bit.
You rely on consolation.
You're basically relying on two teams, whereas over 2.5 you could just back one, can't you? So for me, I always go over 2.5. Maybe that's going to influence what we do on this Acca. But yeah, no method for me.
Yeah.
Maybe Ray wanted more logic to this of what to do.
You're in the wrong place, Ray.
We don't come here for logic and reason. Both teams score, you need two teams. Over 2.5, you could look at, literally, it could be one. The amount of teams that do cover it, Mansfield did it 3 times in a game this season.
When they scored 9?
3 times, yeah.
Shit.
He's done the maths.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp, really. I don't really have a particular go-to. I do, like you said, if you have a competitive game, both teams to score for me is the way in, because that 1-1 score covers you, whereas it doesn't cover the over 2.5. And I know there's not been a lot of that because it's been quite a high-scoring season in general, but that little security blanket of 1-1, and you just know that if it's 1-1 competitive game, there's probably likely going to be another goal as well. The old BTTS and overs, but I think we're going to settle on over 2.5 for this, because I think we've got a few teams that we look at maybe covering lines on their own.
Let's get some teams together. Quick break, over 2.5 goals. Acca coming your way afterwards. Commiserations to Alfred Town, by the way. We talk about them a lot on this podcast for obvious reasons. I did just want to mention it. Official commiserations, I suppose.
Thanks, Duff.
Missed out on the playoffs. On penalty shootout. Cruelest way to lose a game of football. There's always next year, though.
There's always next year.
Best, look straight ahead to next year. There's always next season.
Standard was so good at penalties. First 4 scored for each side. We missed our 5th. They scored their 5th. But it was the classic. Perrott came on. I don't want to dig him out, but came on to take a penalty and missed the penalty. How often does that happen?
More often.
It always seems to happen. It just
You
seems.
don't have any touch, or you're not used to the ball. You're probably not warm enough. Yeah.
Yep.
Weird.
It is weird.
Yeah. Well, that's happened in the Leeds game the other week when they were playing. Someone got late penalty, and Joel Piroux, who is, if he's on the pitch, he's the penalty taker. He'd just come on, grabbed the ball. Somerville went, back off, mate. I'm having this. Pushed him off it, and it was like, right, what's going on? And then Daniel Farker claimed afterwards, says he does not want a penalty taker who has just come on, who is still cold, basically, has not touched the ball. Don't want him touching it first. So it was, I told them to do this. Part of me's thinking, that was a very clever way of diffusing it, because it didn't look like there was a clear communication channel there on that one. But
what was that game? Because I'm sure Somerville took his top off, and I've seen it was £50 gold card.
It was like Leeds Hull, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Because then Dan James scored from halfway to make it 3-1 late on, didn't he?
One of the greatest halfway line finishes I've seen.
Unbelievable, wouldn't it? We are getting sidetracked. We will actually build an Acca at some point, but we are getting sidetracked here slightly. Where do we want to go then? Let's give us a strongest fancy for some goals. Strongest fancy. We can go, yes, straight into it. Let's get going. Where are we going? Where are we
League
heading
Two,
to for
League
this?
Two. When you said where we're going to start, I thought let's start at the top, but now you said strongest fancy.
Oh, don't worry about chronological ways of sorting stuff. Let's just know what we like first, and then go from there.
I actually can't believe this. Wrexham, Stockport, both promoted. The latter as champions. Wrexham, I don't know if they care about where they finish, but they're level on points with Mansfield, so they could finish second. I don't know if they'll be asked, but it's the first best attacking side against the third. Wrexham at home, unbelievable side at home. They've got Paul Mullin, 24, 4 off the pace for the Golden Boot. He loves playing at home. He scored 14 goals since Christmas. Really comes alive. I don't know what he does for Christmas, but he always seems to come alive in the second half of the season. Over 2.5 goals. He's 3-4 generally, and I cannot for the life of me work out why. I can't. I feel like, am I missing something here? Why is it this big? It's one of the biggest prices on the slate when I was looking down the Football League.
I mean, when the magical computer that does all the fixtures threw this one out, there's a couple on final days that immediately went, oh yes, this could be brilliant. Yeah. It means nothing now, which only, to me, just makes me more confident that if it was like a big game and all, they're third and fourth, or they're first and second and the title's on the line, it's a bit more cagey. Whereas this is like, well, we're both up. Let's just
have fun.
Just have a good time.
Yeah, let's just have a daft time. And the goals have actually been flowing. Stockport, unsurprisingly, went quite reserved. On the running, they were
results.
Yeah, there was 11 unbeaten when they went to Notts County. They went to Notts County knowing that they could win the league, confirm the league. They'd already gone up. I think under 2.5 goals landed in around 6 of the running to the Notts County game, including the Notts County game and the game since. I think they've scored 9, conceded 4. Accrington, sorry. Wrexham, 4 unbeaten. They've scored 17 goals in the last 4 over that period. It's just party time, isn't it? Shackles are off, and it's just so many goals. I actually think, I was just scrambling then to see if I can find the price. I've just got a feeling there's going to be about 10 goals in this game. I want to back the 5-5 draw.
I'd say, are you going to go 5-5, a second 5-5? Imagine if Wrexham's season is boxed off by 5-5 draws either side of it.
Unbelievable.
That would be lovely, Jubbly.
But it's also, it's very, very plausible. Like I said, this is going to be a pure festival of football. It's got 2 teams promoted. They're all in good mood. Every single fan in that stadium is going to be in a great mood. They're going to want to see good attacking football. Like Jim said, Paul Mullin he's probably not going to catch Macaulay Langstaff, but he'll have a go. He needs 4 and Langstaff not to score, so it's very unlikely. But he'll no doubt have a go. Want to finish strongly. This could be just pure chaos. These kind of games never really finish 0-0.
0-0 incoming.
Yeah, 0-0 incoming. Let's have under 0.5 goals, no first goal scorer, just in case as well. Do you know what? I was really, really curious on the topic of Golden Boot. Like, what price may be back in like Paul Mullin to score, or Macaulay Langstaff, or maybe 2, maybe even 3. I was really, really curious. If anyone's got a price to hand that they could just say here,
you've come to the right place.
That would be really handy to me.
Funny you should say, because that is the generational wealth game this weekend. Mullin, you can get him at 80-1 for a hat-trick. He's 100-1 to win the Golden Boot, so I think you're just best off having the hat-trick. Macaulay Langstaff, obviously not as big. He's 35-1 for the hat-trick, but I was looking, actually. I've got my notes to hand, and it seems like a logical thing that final day people just score lots of goals, but over the last 3 seasons, in the Championship, League 1, League 2, 108 games, there's been 24 braces, only 3 hat-tricks, but the players do seem to ramp it up because it's just a fun time, isn't it?
It's just a festival of football.
Just fun.
Claimed.
Just fun.
To piggyback on the back of that, I did look at this actually and curious of how many goals there are in final day. And it's tough because some games have content, some games have meaning, some do not. Interestingly, in League 2 over the last 3 seasons, the final day over 2.5 is down on the seasonal average.
Really?
It's 56%. You'd say 56%. This season has been over 2.5, but if you just took final day of last season, it would be 42%.
I didn't expect that.
But equally, though, in League 1, I know that's the early kickoff, but you could still kind of look to that. Over 2.5 goals in half of games this season, 50%. But on the final day of the last 3 seasons, I should say, 62%. So there is no real exclusive pattern to it, but it does show that in seasons where there isn't as much riding on final day, you typically do see it. And it all depends, as we've said, on matchups and stuff like that, and having Wrexham versus Stockport, two strong attacking teams who are already up.
Does the weather impact it, do you think? In my head, I'm just thinking
It's going to be cold, isn't it?
Nice sunny day, everyone's in the fancy dress.
I was going to say it's cold. It should be cold this weekend. It's freezing.
Unders
Constantly freezing.
Get on the unders.
Get on the 0-0. But no, seriously, we are putting that in there.
Frank.
That's our first pick then. Yep. Over 2.5 goals, Acca for us on the final day of the League Two season. We are kicking things off with Wrexham versus Stockport. I'm going to take us back up to the Premier League.
Ooh.
We will go back to the Football League.
Good.
Much prefer very, very soon. A couple of games jump out to me here. What about over 2.5 goals in Fulham versus Crystal Palace at 4-6? Crystal Palace under Glasner looking very, very good. One to kind of keep an eye on for next season, but scoring lots of goals. Scored 2 against Fulham, didn't they? Scored 5 against West Ham at the weekend. This obviously isn't a game at Selhurst Park, but to me, in terms of kind of you're looking at two sides now who are just mid-table, no real pressure on them to do anything. Now, the festival of football continues. But to me, it is, a case particularly on the Palace side of things, Glasgow's going to be looking in the summer of kind of how we can change the squad up, what can be, the players that can go, the players that they're going to bring in and stuff like that. So they still have got something to play for. But it's absolutely remarkable, refreshing, I suppose, to see a Palace side playing such kind of an entertaining front foot, I should say, style of football. Goals to me.
Goals. Sorry, I'm just
up.
going to have to stop you there. I'm looking at Jake's screen, and you know how the Google ads work?
Yeah, based on browsing history.
What on earth is that? It looks like
That's
some
a
sort of
good question.
explicit woman sex doll. Oh man, show it, Duff, man.
That is Temu. It's
no, the other one.
This one. I think it's a wig.
That's.
Oh, is it for a wig? It's for a wig company.
I don't actually.
Is it?
Anyway, speaking of which,
Usually
one
have
man
the
who's
the
owning his
365
baldness is Jean-Philippe Mateta. What has happened to him? Is it Glasner? Is it tucking in his top? 7 in his last 7 back-to-back braces. What's going on?
Could cover this line by himself this weekend.
Could well on. If only there was a man who
Good.
liked to back players to score hat tricks on this podcast, that would be interesting.
I'd
I know
love
he's
to
a
meet
player
him.
that I've got my eye on for the top goal scorer. Maybe if he's a good price next year to get that each way type value.
Yep.
Any other thoughts on kind of Fulham, Palace, or the rest of the Premier League action while we're on it?
Really, I mean, I think the fact that Palace rested Elise from the start in midweek only increases my confidence in this over 2.5. Just because he's going to be absolutely fresh, raring to go. He's definitely going to play. And yeah, whenever Palace have Elise and Eze on the pitch, their goal average just jumps through the roof when they're both on the pitch together. I like the system that he's got them playing in, like a little back five, and those two just kind of playing a bit of a free role as opposed to being pinned out wide. And yeah, Fulham, their games this season at home have been not as high scoring as last year. They're 2.9 goals per game on average, but 11 of the 17 have gone overs. And they score a lot of goals themselves at home. They seem to save the best stuff for at home. So I could see this being a bit of a chaotic end-to-end game. And yeah, I hope so. I mean, I want to see Palace carrying on in this form and just being actual fun to watch.
Do we want to mention any other Premier League games? Do you want to kind of do this as one section and then we can kind of maybe move on elsewhere? Fulham Palace, I think, is going to go in. We will confirm it when we get to the end of the section, but so far we've definitely got Wrexham Stockport. I think we're 99% on having that Fulham Palace game in. Kind of looking at the slate for context, Man United, Burnley, Newcastle, Sheffield United, who could get relegated this weekend.
True. Could also concede 100 goals in a season.
They are 8 goals away from the magical 100 goals conceded for the Blades. If only they were playing a team this weekend who have scored 8 past them in a single game this season to take them to the magical marker, which they are in Newcastle. Wolves Luton was the other game as well. Is there anything there that we can work with goals-wise or kind of anything else?
Take us away.
So, shockingly, they all actually do sound lovely for goals. I made a note of the Wolves Luton, though, because I was absolutely shocked to see only 5 teams have stopped Luton scoring this season. Only 5 teams have kept clean sheets against them. 3 of those came before game week 9, so when they were still finding their feet. The last team to do it was Arsenal, best defence in the league. And excluding that, Luton have scored in every one of the last 22 league games. Excluding that. Goes back to November.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's pretty crazy.
They can't keep a clean sheet either.
No, that's the beauty of it.
Anything else?
You want to the fact that you want this in the Acca, or?
I thought you'd be shocked to hear that.
I am shocked.
Really?
I am
You again.
aghast.
Luton have only been kept at bay by 5 teams in the Premier League this season.
Can you name all 5?
Fulham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United. Oh, who's the last one? They scored against Brighton. No, I can't name all 5.
See?
No, they scored both games against City. This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, it looks a short price, and Wolves sort of
I was going to say,
threadbare, aren't they?
Spoken about Luton. Wolves lost 1-0 to Bournemouth in midweek. Lost 2-0. Yeah, this top half bet is happening. 2-0 at home to Arsenal, of course, as well. But they have had players missing that we said there. We are now seeing players return for them. So potentially on a goals perspective, probably a bit more confidence in them to do so. I mean, they had another goal ruled out, questionably ruled out in that defeat to Bournemouth. So they probably should have had one on the tally there as well. But is there confidence enough probably on the Wolves side of things to deliver if we were going to look at over 2.5 in this one?
I think so, yeah. Cunha and Hwang are both available, and I fully expect them to probably score twice against this Luton team that, like, let's be honest, whenever they've played away from home this season, they've been absolutely horrendous. They've conceded 43 goals in 17 away games. This is a line that I could see Wolves covering by themselves. Was it last week Luton get hammered 5-1 at home by Brentford?
They've lost the last 2 games 5-1.
Wolves to win 5-1 then.
Wolves to win 5-1, that's the prediction.
Yeah, let's put that in the Acca instead of overs.
That would be a serious price boost.
It would, yeah.
Wouldn't it?
That'd chunk it up nicely.
Do we want to take these 2
chips.
Premier League games then that we've said? Do we kind of want to put them in together as, you know, and there's our second and third picks? We kind of happy enough with going for those games currently? Confident enough that we definitely probably want them in at this stage?
Yeah,
for
me. I mean, like I said, Luton's away games in general this season have averaged 3.8 goals per game. I mean, we don't even need them to get to that average, but that's a bit of a sweetener for me. They just can't defend Luton, and then their predicament that they're in terms of the bottom of the table, like, they're going to have to go for this as well. This is a very winnable fixture the way that Wolves have been playing. Mm-hmm. Luton are going to have to open up, and that should leave plenty of space for Gary O'Neill's side if the referees allowed any goals to stand.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that was bad. I think we need to. That was ridiculous, wasn't it, on Sunday last statement?
It was like a little
Premier League
face tap, wasn't it? And just weird.
Oh, I was on about the Forest statement.
That one. Oh, right. I was talking about Wolves. Yeah, the Forest. Yeah, Forest have had head loss.
Head loss gone. Should we seem confident in those 2? Should we take them? Lock them in. 7-2 treble then so far, over 2.5 goals joining Wrexham and Stockport. It's Fulham against Crystal Palace and Wolves versus Luton. We have Wrexham, Stockport, we have Fulham, Palace, we have Wolves, Luton as well. Over 2.5 goals in each of those. We're currently at 7-2. Throw it open. Give some more games that we can look at to make up. Because I think the pricing point, we are heading towards 5.
5.
We're all looking at Jim Rod for some reason.
Yeah,
That's weird.
I have a feeling that he's going to put something up.
Well, League 2, I had one that I thought was pretty much a staple, really, in my eyes. 4-6 MK Dons and Sutton. But I'm sensing that it's not a staple in your 2 eyes. The thinking was MK Dons guaranteed playoffs. Sutton need 3 points, a 4-goal swing on the goal difference, and Colchester to lose against Crewe. That game's pretty nuanced, as a draw would suit both. I don't know if you know, Duffman, but a draw would suit both in Colchester.
Yeah.
Duffman broke the news.
6-4 that draw is now. It was 5-2 literally 24 hours ago.
Bloody hell, really? 6-4?
Can't have had that much on it.
Yikes.
Move the whole market.
But I just thought, it back to the MK Dons Sutton game, that MK Dons, that the players at these levels, no disrespect in League 2, like, it's not like they're going to rotate and finally tune them for the playoffs. They all want to stay fresh. So even if they shuffle the deck slightly, it's going to be they're going to put in a pretty intensity-wise, I think it's still going to be there. So they go into the playoffs strong. Sutton, they've got to win, and they've got to win by at least, well, ideally a 4-goal margin, but at least a 2, and assuming Colchester slip up. So and even that, the attacking, if they go for it, hell for leather, the attacking style is going to just suit MK Dons. So I just thought this one stinks of goals.
I don't know, because I was just looking at the table here. MK Dons really are stuck in nothingness in the last game of the season. 7 points clear of Doncaster Rovers, who are 5th in the table. Yeah, there's playoffs is happening, isn't it?
To pivot a little bit, because you said last week or the week before about the fact that they were 750.
750 to 1 at the start of March.
So I saw a bet slip from a Doncaster fan that had put 20 quid on Doncaster's finishing the top 7 at 500 to 1. And they cashed out their bet this week for £9,200.
Absolutely superb.
Which is it's not quite generational wealth, but it's an unbelievable bit of business that.
Have a nice takeaway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Could get an exceptional takeaway for £9,000.
Treat yourself to holiday and a takeaway, I think. Yeah, Doncaster. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
But back to the original point there, that MK Don's 7 points there. They're 8 points behind Wrexham. They can't go anywhere. I know you say about the intensity and there's not rotation. Do you not think it plays in the back of your mind slightly that I don't want to get injured here? I'm a bit, and you're a bit more hesitant. There's a bit. I don't know. I'm obviously not a professional footballer because I'm fucking terrible.
And I think
is it just playing in your mind a little bit, knowing that there is literally nothing on that? You play for the integrity of the competition, of course. That
No, they don't.
This game does matter to someone or a couple of teams, but to you it doesn't. And I just be a little bit like, I 10%, 20% lessen a tackle or whatever, because I'd just be so worried about even a minor injury. You could be done for the entire playoffs.
I agree with Duffman on that, and I also think that from Sutton's psyche perspective, like all this talk now about Colchester and Crewe drawing and just shaking hands and they go down no matter what happens, that'll be in their mind going into the start of the game. If they get in the dressing room at half time and they're still drawing, that's going to be like, right, well, we've got no chance now. That like what we thought was going to happen in terms of the draw that does them both favours, like that's going to come to fruition. There's no real point in us turning up and trying, and then you might end up with 2 teams in the second half that just kind of just not give up and down tools, but are resigned to what they're going to expect. So that'd be my doubt.
I had that. I went to Farsley Celtic on Saturday. National League North side, if you know where it is. Farsley's kind of in the Leeds postcode. They were in the relegation zone on final day. They were level on points with Blythe Spartans. The goal difference was the factor. They basically had to better Blythe's result. And that thing there about them finding the score at half-time, 30 minutes into the game, Farsley were 1-0 up. Quite comfortable, to be honest. Blythe were 4-0 down. The entire jeopardy of final... Oh, my God, this could be final day drama. Gone. It was basically, right, just don't lose the game now. That's it. So I pretty much had that on Saturday, and you could just tell there was, like, intensity goes a bit when you go, well, we're doing it now, aren't we? That just don't lose the game. Don't concede 2. Fine. And they went 2-0 up, and it's brilliant. Don't concede 3 because Blythe aren't turning it round.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's that factor of, like, it's a cliche, isn't it? You got to do your bit. I'm sure Sutton will go into it trying to do their bit and win quite handsomely, but how long that lasts, I'm not too sure.
Any other picks we can be a bit more confident in? Do we think?
Yeah, you brought one. You mentioned one earlier, and I'd not even thought about it. But you mentioned it. You read out loads of numbers, and I was like, oh, maybe.
Was it Blackburn Coventry?
I think it might have been that one.
Yeah, that one jumped out to me. Again, a short price one, but Coventry, bit of an issue now, playoff-wise. Hull beat them in a huge clash that I think that kind of nobody really realised was on, to be honest.
Has anybody seen the goal line clearance?
I've not seen it. No, I've not seen anything from this game yet.
Absolutely hilarious. Like the ball kind of ricochets off a couple of players, and the defender's sliding towards his own net. He's in the net, and the ball's crossing the line. It hits him on the back because he's got no idea what's happening. It hits him on the back and bounces clear, and they somehow managed to get it out. That was sensational. Yeah, that's the kind of game we would have expected from 2 teams with a lot to play for, and a win only doing it basically.
Ding dong affair. I think this one interests me. It was Coventry, weren't it? For this,
yeah, Blackburn Coventry, yeah.
Did you zone out?
Just zone out.
I was just looking for that deflected goal, but I just want to check. The psychological and physical impacts of the semi-final last Sunday, I think Coventry has spent, and it looked to be that case.
I think, you've got a factor here as well that Coventry still are in the playoff race. It's tough. It's mathematically they are. It's tough. They've got an extra game. They need a huge thing to happen, but still, Blackburn aren't going to go down right. But
you never know.
No, I think
it's highly unlikely. With Birmingham and Huddersfield playing each other this weekend, it's highly unlikely.
Blackburn, QPR are another one. I know they're a point ahead. Stoke as well. It's just
50 points is definitely enough.
Yeah, even then you're going Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham going to overtake Blackburn. Probably not.
Depends if Blackburn's goalkeeper wants to, make any more errors.
He plays like fucking prime Buffon against Leeds in that televised game. The next game, he goes, I can't remember how to do anything. How could you be like unbelievable one week and then just as anyone can
I'll tell you
the
why.
week after.
Pressure, because the Leeds game they had no pressure on them at all.
Very true, yeah.
At home,
I guess when you start to get going as a goalkeeper as well, you're like, I'm feeling good here. This is just keep going and going and going.
What was it, about 5 minutes where he's come out of his box and handed it to Josh Windass?
Josh Windass gone. That's an unbelievable finish from Windass.
Finish. That is, by the way.
But Blackburn have obviously still playing for something, right? Yeah. So at home, last home game, we know a win here will do it. Coventry, if you backed over 2.5 goals in their last 13 games, I believe it is, you would have won 13 times. It's a chaotic team, old Mark Robbins is, but it's not a surprise when you look at kind of the attacking talent that they have.
Look what they did to Man United last week.
Oh, yeah, that was an absolutely remarkable one.
Man United, by the way.
Yeah, this is Manchester United.
Either way.
And again, VAR, we should probably have a thing of VAR's context should be how funny the outcome would be, and that influences decisions. But a lot of goals in Coventry games, not always one-sided either. You look at this, 2-3, 3-3.
Yeah.
3-0, 2-1, 2-1, 1-2, 1-3, 2-3, 1-2, 5-0, 2-1 in the last 10 or so. Not many zeros in there.
Interesting. You're looking at Blackburn's fixtures, and they've had a couple of unders recently, but they've both been against good, like the top end of the table team. So obviously 1-0 at Leeds, 0-0 at Southampton, 1-0 against Ipswich. All teams that are like top end where you'd expect them to kind of sit back and try and counter, and then against the rest of the sides where they probably expect to have a go and get results. Being a little bit crazy. 5-1, 5-0, 3-1. I quite like this as a play.
Jim Rod, any more thoughts, or should we take it as a fourth pick?
Yeah, I think take it. You've also got the small matter of Shammy Schmodix involved in this one.
What's Adam Armstrong's price score 5? Because he needs to catch up on the Golden Boot.
$1 million. Yeah, every point in the season I've looked at the race for the Golden Boot because the bets are dead, but I was on Chaplin and Sims, and I was thinking, Sammy Schmodix can't carry on like this.
Yeah, he's carried on like this, isn't he? Every week he's doing it. Every single week, which is good, obviously, when you're backing goals in a game involving him and his team. Fourth pick, then, of this week's Acca in our over 2.5 goals accumulator. We've got Wrexham v Stockport, we've got Fulham v Palace, Wolves v Luton, and joining them, making it up to around 13-2-ish at the moment, it's Blackburn versus Coventry. We need a fifth team then to get us to that magical 10-1 mark, or another 2 teams, I should say. Did I say it? Anyway, ignore me. One more game. Yep. Where do we want to go?
We had a little bit of a debate, didn't we, just about whether we wanted to go... We were on about maybe Southampton at home to Stoke, but I think at a similar price, much more confident in Swindon versus Morecambe. 1-2. You've got 2 teams that are extremely good for goals overall this season. They sit in the top 3 of the league in terms of goals, over 2.5 percentages. Swindon 32 over 2.5 in 45. Morecambe 30. But for me, it's Morecambe's away that absolutely clinches this. They've averaged 3.8 goals per away match this season, gone over 2.5 in 18 of 22. Again, it's a game with absolutely nothing on the line, which I quite like when you get to this stage of the season. You do just get shackles off, kind of do what you want. Swindon at home have been really good for goals as well, 3.3 per game. Mm-hmm. This one just looks a little bit an open goal. The price kind of explains that 1-2, but I think it's a nice way to round off and get us over that 10-1 marker.
Yeah, no other thoughts really for me. The biggest thing I saw there was it's a game that doesn't matter. Yeah. So instantly
Festival of football.
There's no need to be cagey. I'd happily side with this. We spoke about Southampton there. Probably another game that I'd be interested in. I mean, to be honest, there's probably about 8 or 9 games you could really pick from to make it over 2.5. Acca.
So why are we stopping at 5?
The 4 lose that we're going for, and then the others win.
That'd just be typical, that wouldn't
Oh, just what do we like? What do we like? Swindon Morecambe, anything else to add, or are we happy with that?
He's just Googling where Swindon play.
It's basically a case
play
of
in England,
down
idiot.
south somewhere. I was going to say, not even since Jake Young, since the goal stopped. It's been a consistent throughout the season, really. So from my perspective on the teams involved, no real negatives from me on this pick, to be honest, to kind of round off the 5 teams.
Yeah, and they've been in good scoring form recently as well, Swindon, especially at home. They had a 3-2 last time out, 2-1 win over Notts County, 2-1 defeat to that informed team, Doncaster, 2-1 defeat to Accrington in another game that was just nothingness between 2 teams in the middle. 3-1 against Tranmere, 2-1 MK Dons, the list goes on. They're very good for goals. Can't defend, create loads of chances. Morecambe are the same.
Jim Roger, yes in it as well?
Hell yeah! I'm just looking. How long has it been since our last winner?
Not that far.
No, I think you'll find it
Is
has.
there a big tick there? Did you scroll past a tick?
Was it March time?
Yeah, it
2
was.
in March.
Look.
Back to back, wasn't it, in March?
Yeah, back to back.
March the 9th,
There it
where
is.
I was, 18-1. Yeah, so it's been. Oh, and then we had one on the 2nd of March. We're looking for our 7th winner. £470 profit from a tenner at the minute. But we hadn't had one in a while. I would love it if this one
That
won.
weight is nothing compared to the weight we had between Acca win 4 and Acca win 5.
Hey, remember that, eh?
Hopefully then, this is the Acca that could do it, because we're pivoting away from match results. We're going over 2.5 goals in the following 5 games. It's Wrexham v Stockport, Fulham v Crystal Palace, Wolves versus Luton, Blackburn versus Coventry, and Swindon versus Morecambe. That fivefold above the magical 10-1 marker for us. Remember to keep it fun. Never bet more you can afford. Please gamble responsibly. And make sure you get in touch with us on social media. Search Sporting Live Football. You'll find us that way. Or on the YouTube comments, so Jimmy can come and read them out for you in the next episode. And head over to sportinglive.com/football on Friday around midday. You'll be able to find the link to back that at an enhanced price. And my final plug, as ever as I run out of breath, is to make sure you follow, rate us on iTunes, Spotify, cliched chosen podcast provider. We'll be back for the final week of the EFL season properly. The championship concludes next week.